Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel or welcome to my channel. I'm Katarina with Lula's Path. This channel is for so many things. One of the main things that I do is I'm a cosmic channeler as well as an Akashic record reader. So I am able to tap into the energy of timelines and offer guidance. And this video is particularly for the guidance of August. So, August, starting with August 1st, and today is August 1st, so let's start there. August is going to be, first, I'm going to talk about how July was. July was a lot of growth, a lot of interpersonal growth, a lot of internal growth, as well as people were very busy. On a collective level, I read that people were going to be very busy, and I saw that people were very busy. There was also a reunion of sorts within families. People were coming together, spending more time in general than they usually would with family. And also, there are those who are growing. For those in romantic relationships, you are continuing to grow and evolve in your relationships. And there could have been a lot of conversation around the idea of what it means to be an emotionally available partner and to be emotionally vulnerable. This is going to be important to remember for August because August is a lot about invoking evoking magnetism. So what does that mean? When you are a magnetic being, things just come to you. You just feel like you are constantly exuding this high energy frequency that you are then attracting whatever you desire in your life. So August is a lot about the magnetism of ourselves, of our souls, and how can we embody more attracting and receiving as opposed to working really hard for our money, working really hard for results. And if you feel like that's been a lifelong pattern of yours, feeling like you work so hard, but you only get X and Y and Z, and you may be very grateful and be in gratitude for what you have, but you wish money came easier. You're manifesting money coming easier, more passive income in your life. This is some roots that are growing right now in August, that are going to grow right now in August. This is a high level topic. And this will be something that you will be exploring within yourself is how can I attract abundance in all forms, but also how can I attract abundance that doesn't mean work harder in order to get exactly what I desire, but instead just flow more, travel more, follow your guidance more, be less exhausted all of the time. Those are attributes that if you're working on this, it's important to evolve and it's important to tap into, because one of the timelines that I'm seeing that is shattering for so many people is constantly feeling like you're working, and there's a different vibration when you really love your work, but also for those who love their work but they're also constantly working and they still do feel tired even though they are fed by their work. That is one area. Then the other areas, you don't really like what you're doing, and for work I should say, and then when you work really hard, you just get easily burnt out. So it's the balance of both sides for those who really enjoy what they're doing right now and for those trying to transition out of something that they're currently doing. But overall, it's the balance of receive and give and understanding. Do you create situations in your life where you have to work even harder to get what you want? So many of us do this. This comes from suffering consciousness. When we have unlooked at, when we have not yet looked at the part of us that always is addicted, that tends to be addicted or attached to suffering consciousness, we create cycles for ourselves. When things get very passive, things feel very easy and flowing, all of a sudden we create a event in our life, or we create some kind of chaos in our life that then reminds us, oh, okay, that never lasts. Me relaxing, me being in flow, me being well rested never lasts. There's always going to be a part of my life where I'm going to be exhausted. There's always going to be a part of my life where I'm going to feel like I'm working so hard. And there's that idea, work harder, work smarter, I should say, not harder. And that, in even within me, used to trigger something because I was like, no, you have to work hard in order to get what you want. That is not necessarily true. There's a lot of layers to this topic, and I'm really being guided to speak more in depth about this. So we can work smarter and not harder simply by choosing something different for ourselves, choosing a different life for ourselves. And that also involves looking at the parts of us that are attached to constantly being the martyr, being the person, well, everybody needs me, so I need to help everybody. Did they ask for the help? That is something that I recently was reminded of did they ask for the help? If they did not, leave it be. It's so hard for us when we really love the souls that we are in groups, are in communities, are in families with, to see them take a path that we wouldn't have agreed with. But at the same time, that is their life, that is not yours. This is different between, of course, underage children and their parents. There's certain guidance and guidelines that they have for them. But when we are adults and we are looking at other adults, they didn't ask for our help. And that is when we start to realize, wait, have I been doing this all my life? Have I been making myself so available to people that I am giving out the energy? I'm sending a signal to people that I will put myself last, that I will put everybody else first, and then me last. See, that right there has to change. And it has to change in order for you to embody a life of luxury, a life of abundance, a life of multitude. And we can still be in that consciousness and get a lot of prosperity, but then we will spend that prosperity in a way where we're still evoking levels. There's so many people who are very wealthy and they still evoke the consciousness that they have to work really hard to keep that wealth. That is not true. For when it is already in your field, all you have to do is open your energy matrix, your energy body to receive and then to keep. Because there is also the idea, well, once I receive that prosperity, once I receive that money, and it doesn't even have to be money, but just a multitude of something, I will spend it all. I will use it all right away. And it's one thing if, you're paying off credit cards, you're paying off certain things that you need to use that money towards. But then it's another thing when you are using that prosperity in a way that makes it feel like, oh, I have to spend it all now, or it's not going to be, it's not going to be there. It's not going to be there. I have to spend it all now. The balance between treating ourselves and knowing that we can embody a life where we can invest in ourselves monetarily, but also knowing when there we need to stop, knowing when we have to take a pause, because the reality is the majority of us live better than most. We live better than most. There are so many people who don't even have access to clean water, let alone a plumbing system, let alone have the choice to go into their closet every day and choose their outfit of the day. These are small gifts that we take for granted. And This recenters the conversation regarding gratitude, but also gratitude. Once we invoke gratitude, it also evokes a time in our life where we have to start looking within, because we can be grateful, and the more that we are grateful, we start to realize, wow, I always saw things as half empty. I always saw myself as the martyr. I always saw myself as looking at life so darkly when there was so much light around me, and there is so much light around me. And that is the conversation for August. This is the conversation that we're really digging in the nitty gritty. We're really going to explore this within us. And that is something that is really great, because this is before the holiday. Holiday season tends to be high spending season, tends to be a time where we want to give more to others, etc. So we are focusing right now, before fall comes, before winter comes, we are focusing on how to receive, learning how to receive, and learning how to give to ourselves. This prosperity in terms of relationships is very interesting, because for those who aren't really looking for something right now romantically, and then those that are in a relationship, and those that are just focusing on community and platonic relationships, this all applies what I'm about to say. The relationship that you have with others all mirrors back your strengths, your insecurities, your doubts, and your challenges. So when you have something that's going really well, a certain relationship that's going really well, it's because one, you have probably done the work to create more balance in that relationship. You have learned that person and accepted that person, as well as accepted yourself in the role that you play in your life. When there's incongruence between the relationship between you and another person, then that is when you have to look within, and you have to see, how did I contribute to this situation? What am I in denial about? Am I accepting this person? Am I accepting myself? Because often when we feel bullied, or we feel picked on, or we feel a little too seen by somebody, it's because they themselves carry those qualities, or have carried those qualities. So it's easy for them to identify them in you. And if you feel like they are making more negative rather than positive comments to you, then that is just a reflection of their worth, of how much they truly love themselves. But also, if we are seeing it as negative, there may be certain truths within the negativity. Sometimes, when we think somebody is not a good person because they told us this, there may be something there. There's a reason for the trigger. Not to say you're 100% everything that that person told you that you were, or trying to tell you that they were, but sometimes when we get annoyed at somebody, or we just need space, it's because we feel too seen, or they are mirroring back a shadow within us that scares us, that we actually don't really like about ourselves, or that we're healing within ourselves. So it's our opportunity to heal the relationship between the two of you, and however that looks like, whether that's cord cutting, meaning envisioning a cord between the two of you dissolving, whether that's forgiving them, sending them love, whether that's choosing not to be defensive, choosing not to prove yourself to that person, but instead just being in love, in light energy, being loving, being forgiving. Because there were opportunities that were given to you in the past that maybe you were a much more harsher person, you were much more unkind, and that was a learning lesson in itself. So that wasn't a mistake, but instead, this is another opportunity for you in the month of August. In other videos, I will go deeper in the new moon that's coming the day after the 8/8 portal, which I will also make a video about, as well as the August 23rd new moon. I'm sorry, the full moon is on August 9th and the new moon's on August 23rd. So I will make more in-depth videos about those particular events. August, prosperity, relationships, but also, and also understanding what does compromise mean to you. So August is in Leo, that then at the end of the month slowly vibrates back into, or not back into, but slowly changes its vibration to Virgo. Virgo is also a very interesting sign when it comes to justice, communication, compromise. Leo, lions take up a lot of space. They have a vibrant energy, they have a dominant energy, they have a powerful energy. Compromise, when we are somebody who is very comfortable speaking our minds, we are very vibrant, we are very, even the colors, we carry a lot of red, yellow, orange energy. Compromise is something that we have to work on over time. And there's a difference between compromise and somebody abusing your boundaries, and compromise and always wanting things to go your way. So sometimes we think compromise is not what it actually is. When we say, oh, I'm compromising with that person, but in reality, we are more dominant in nature and we are convincing them to acquiesce to what we want, that is when we are manipulating the situation in order to get what we want. And then when we are saying it's compromise, but then we are the person who we feel is giving up more in the conversation and the exchange of events, then that other person is then wanting things to go their way and not really wanting to compromise, but calling it compromise. Then there is the actual balance between the two. Compromise is when you are learning and you are growing and understanding that life isn't about everything going your way, because if it was, we wouldn't learn anything. Through challenge, we then change, we then evolve. And when we learn to compromise with others, we learn to keep our integrity, but also learn that not everything has to go exactly how we want it. We relinquish the need for control. We relinquish the emotional and physical stress we put on our bodies because we want to control the situation. And a lot of people who are humanitarian and very giving do this more often than not. Either they are on the end of the spectrum where they let people violate their boundaries, or they think they know what's best for everybody because they care so much about everybody that they then impose their agenda, they impose what they want, when they have to actually, the best thing we can often do for somebody else is let them make their own decisions. Let them do what they are setting out to do, whether we agree with it or not, whether we know in our hearts that that person's going to get hurt by their decisions. But we have to acknowledge, the same way we had to learn through challenges, through our mistakes, they have to. And so the Leo comes in during this month about taking a step back. There's the line, we're about to cross it, we need to take a step back. We need to take a deep breath, go get a meal, go focus on ourselves again, because majority of exhaustion comes from worrying about circumstances that haven't even happened and worrying about the outcome of people's lives that we cannot control. And then of course worrying about our life. And these are the themes of August. I hope that this guidance was helpful. Please support my channel by subscribing, commenting, and liking. I really appreciate you all. And until next time, I look forward to our connection again.